Welcome to the CareFinity Archive demonstration. My name is Shauna, and I'm joined today by the MTS Chief Technology Officer, Vic Shashadri. We will be sharing some information with you today about CareFinity Archive. CareFinity Archive is a software solution that we built, implement, and support here at MedTech Solutions, or you may know us as MTS. The software was created to provide practices with options for your legacy application data. CareFinity Archive allows practices to store records for a long period of time with read access to the clinical data. Whether you're switching EHRs or just want to have long-term access to your data without the full cost of EHR support and maintenance, CareFinity Archive can help with these needs. CareFinity Archive provides all the necessary functions to facilitate access to your legacy data in order to meet regulatory needs such as printing and exporting patient records, satisfying chart retention policies, and addressing financial questions or issues that might arise. It also has the capability to integrate with EHR systems so that clinical staff can access legacy chart information directly from within the patient chart in your new EHR. So let's take a look at how the CareFinity application can be used in your environment, and let us show you a little bit about what it has to offer. Vic, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you, Shauna. Today we're going to be talking about CareFinity Archive. CareFinity Archive allows you to hold legacy data from legacy practice management and EHR systems, and to be able to pull up that data, view information by the patient, be able to fulfill records release requests, and integrate into your production EHR. I'm going to be walking through the front end of CareFinity to show you the information that's available in the archive. And we'll talk through some of the use cases of using the archive with a live production EHR system and legacy archive data. I'm going to log in with a username and password. Once I do that, it's going to ask me for my MFA code. CareFinity supports MFA for deployments that are going to be over the internet for additional security. I'm going to get the code from my computer and put it in, and it's going to take me into the application. The home page for Archive is the patient search screen, which allows me to pull up patient records by a combination of the last name, first name, date of birth, and medical record number. I can put in a few letters of the last name, maybe a letter of the first name, and it's going to go out and give me a list of everybody that meets that criteria. You're going to see the medical record number, the patient's name, their SSN if it was captured, their date of birth, gender, and their address information is going to be available for you here. I can open up the patient by clicking on the patient icon, and it takes me into my patient's record, bringing up the default home page, which in this case is the patient dashboard. On the patient dashboard, you're going to see summary information about that patient. At the top of the page, you're going to have demographic information about that patient. You'll be able to see the patient's picture in the upper left corner if it's available in the legacy data. You'll have the patient's name, gender, medical record number, date of birth, and age available for you. Additionally, you'll have the address, telephone contact information, insurance, and pharmacy information for that patient. Again, based on what's available from the legacy data, you'll be able to see that information within CareFinity. Underneath that, you've got a summary of all the different clinical data elements that are available here: the diagnosis, allergy, medication, visit, lab, and order history for that patient. On the home page, you're going to see the 5 most recent chronologically descending. So the most recent data is always going to be at the top of the list for you. Additionally, if you want to look at more information, you've got this ability to drill into the data in the bottom right corner, which will let you see more information in that particular section. When I open that patient, we got a patient navigation that opened here on the left-hand side that lets me go through the entire CareFinity chart or all the different data elements that are available for your patient. In an archive scenario, users are going to be going in and pulling up the information that they see fit from within there. In a production environment where you have a production EHR and CareFinity being used as an archive for some legacy data, you can set CareFinity up with single sign-on from the production environment, assuming it supports that. The single sign-on through CareFinity is done through SAML, and it can pass both user and patient context to CareFinity. So in that scenario, when you click on the link in your production EHR, it's going to launch CareFinity either embedded in the production EHR or in an external window, depending on what your production EHR supports, and we'll open that patient within CareFinity if we're able to get patient context from the EHR. So you don't have to search for the patient once you open CareFinity. It'll bring you right into this record, and you'll go into their default homepage to be able to view information about them. You have two options for the homepage in CareFinity. The dashboard, as we've seen here, or the other option is patient timeline, which is more of a graphical representation of this patient's history. On the timeline, you're going to be able to see all of the different clinical data elements that are available for this patient displayed chronologically. You'll be able to drill into the timeline. If I wanted to look at events around a certain time period, I can drill into that time period and see everything that occurred there. In this example, around March of 2020. I can drill into specific areas to see details of that time frame. So, for example, if I'm interested in this medication order here in January of 2021, I can click on it and I can see what was put into the patient's medication list on that date. It's available for all of the different data elements that are in CareFinity, including things like scanned images and documents. So if I wanted to look at that note from this visit, I can click on that and I'm able to see note information from within the timeline. Cancel will take me back to the timeline. If I wanted to look at this scanned image, for example, I could click on that and view that scanned image from within CareFinity. Both home pages are available to your users as they are interacting with the patient's chart. As an organization, you can make a decision on what you want your default homepage to be when that patient's chart is open. So if you want the graphical timeline to come up automatically when that patient's open, you can certainly configure it that way. And this works with the single sign-on mechanism as well. So when I'm in my production EHR, I click on a link to launch CareFinity. I'm able to go right into that timeline view if that's the method your organization decides to do. I'm going to go through the rest of the sections here so you can get an idea of the data that's available in CareFinity. Diagnosis will show me all of the different diagnoses or problems that this patient has had in their past. You'll see the date, the visit date the problem was captured on, the onset date if it's available, the code or condition for that problem, the current status, the diagnosed date if it's available, and whether or not it's a resolved problem. A few things to note on the screen that you'll see on the remainder of the data elements that we go through. The first thing is we do page all of our data in CareFinity. I'm using CareFinity through the internet right now to give you an idea of how that would function in a distributed environment. We do page the data similar to your banking and your shopping websites for performance reasons. If there's more data available than you see on the page, you'll have navigation here to navigate through the different pages of data. All of the columns in CareFinity are sortable, where I see this up and down arrow next to the column header. The first time I click on that, it's going to do an ascending sort of the data. The second time I click on it, it's going to do a descending sort of the data. It does sort through the entire data list, so if you're looking for something specific, you can certainly use the sort to help you find it. And additionally, we also give you the ability to filter or search for data. So if I wanted to look for a specific keyword, for example, like use, I can search for that, and it's going to filter for that specific keyword. It is an intelligent search, so it's going to search across all of the columns. So I could search for a keyword, I could search for a date, I could search for a code, for example, and find that information within the patient's diagnosis history. CareFinity also gives you the ability to print from each of the sections. It is a user right, so you can control this based on the user that's logged in as to whether or not that user should have the right to print information out of CareFinity. If they do have that right, they'll see the print button available here on the top. Clicking on that print button will generate a table with whatever I have available in my view. In my case, I've got a filtered view of just the problems with the keyword use, and so it's going to give me everything that meets that criteria. Cancel will take me back. If I wanted to search with another filter, I could certainly clear that and do that from within here. Allergies are going to show me the patient's allergy history. For the allergies, you're going to see the visit date the allergy was captured on, the onset date of the allergy, the resolve date if it's available, the ingredient or allergen, any brand name information associated with that, the reaction the patient has to that allergen, and the provider on behalf of whom that allergy was captured. The medication list will show me the patient's medication history. You'll see the start date of the medication and dose, the quantity and refills that were prescribed, the stop date if it's available, and who prescribed that medication to the patient. Visits will show me the patient's visit history within the organization. Here I'll see the date of the visit, the type of visit, any details associated with that visit, the rendering provider from that visit, and the location. So it gives you a quick snapshot of where the patient has been within the organization. Labs will show me the patient's laboratory history. This test patient doesn't have a lot of history, so let me pull up a different test patient. I'm going to jump back to my patient search. Again, I can search with a couple letters of the last name, and it's going to give me a list of everybody that meets that criteria. In my case, I only have one patient that met that criteria, so it opened that patient right up for me. Here's that patient's home page. Then I go to their dashboard, and then I can jump into labs here to be able to look at laboratory history. The way we do that in CareFinity is we do it by panel. So at the top of the list, you're going to see a listing of all the different panels this patient has had, along with a count of the number of times we have data for a particular panel. Underneath that, you're going to see all of the different components from that panel, as well as the results. Here you'll see that the results are color-coded as you would expect. If there were a high or an alert value in the original system, they're going to show as red within CareFinity. If there were a low value, they're going to show as blue within CareFinity. If I click on a lab result, I can see details about that lab result, including reference ranges, units, things like that, and any comments that might be captured on that lab result would be available for me here. Close will take me back to look at those lab results. If I choose the other result, I can look at historic data over time. You'll see columns chronologically descending to the right. The most recent lab result is going to be available in this leftmost column for you, and then it's going to move down in time as I move to the right. You have the ability to trend lab data. So if I wanted to look at a lab result over time, I could trend that and see what that looks like from within CareFinity. Cancel will take me back to my lab listing. If I wanted to look at a different lab, I could certainly do that as well. I'm going to jump back to my previous patient. There's a recently visited section in CareFinity that keeps track of the 5 most recent patients that you've looked at. That way you don't have to go search for a patient if I need to jump back to them. I'm going to go back to this previous patient. It's going to take me back to their dashboard, and I'm going to move into the orders section. Orders will show me all of the order history for that patient. You're going to start with the visit date the order was captured on, the order type and description, a current status for that order, and who placed that order in the system. Similar to the other screens, you can filter the orders by looking for keywords, but we also give you the ability to filter by the order type. So if I'm looking for a specific order type, like a diagnostic study or maybe an immunization, I can filter by that particular order type and view only those items from within here. So for example, if I'm looking for that immunization history, I can filter by the immunizations, and I would only be able to see the immunizations this patient has had. Vitals will show me the patient's vitals history. Here you'll see the date and time the vital measurement was taken, the height, weight, BMI, blood pressure, the pulse, the temperature, the respiration rate, the pulse ox, and the head circumference. Whatever vital measurement was taken is available to you here. You'll be able to see those data elements from within here. We also give you the ability to trend your vitals data. So if I wanted to look at this patient's vitals over time, for example, I could trend that. Maybe I want to look at their temperature. I can see all of the different temperature measurements that have been taken for this patient to see what that looks like over time. Cancel will take me back. If I wanted to trend a different vital measurement, I could certainly do that from here. CareFinity also embeds growth charts into the vital section. So for those archive use cases where we have pediatric patients, if I want to pull up a growth chart of their pediatric data, I can certainly do that from here. By clicking on the growth chart, it's going to give me a listing of all the different charts that are available based on the patient's gender. And then I can select a growth chart to be able to view that information. This is not a pediatric patient, but it'll give you the idea of how that functions from within CareFinity. You'll be able to see the growth chart. The vitals that fit into that growth chart will be plotted for you and available for you on here. Cancel will take me back to my vitals measurement. If I wanted to look at a different growth chart, I could certainly do that from here as well. Documents are going to be all of your visit notes. So all of the notes that have been generated from your legacy environment. The way we do that in CareFinity is by giving you a view chronologically descending across all of your documents. So you're going to be able to see everything that was done on this patient by time and be able to pull up information from within here. You'll see the date and time, the visit for that patient, the description of the note, who created it, the date and time it was created. The format is really for the CareFinity's use. You'll be able to view the document from within CareFinity. You can click on the view icon to view the document. It's going to pull up that document from within CareFinity. You're able to view it. Similar to the other screens, if I have the rights to do so, I could print that document from within here as well. Back will take me back to my document listing. If I wanted to look at a different document by date, I could do that as well. Additionally, we give you pillboxes here for each of the document types. So if I wanted to search for a specific document type, for example, I could click on that document type and I'm going to see all the different instances of that document for that document type. So it gives me a quick way to pull up documents by type. And then you also have the ability to search for specific documents. If I wanted to search for a document, I could type in information that's in that document title and filter for that document that way. Images are going to be all of the scanned data that's in your legacy environment. The way we do that is by the image category. You're going to see a listing of all the different image categories at the top of the page. If you click on a category, it's going to show you all of the images that are available for that particular category. You'll see a thumbnail of the image along with some details about the date of the image. You can view that image from within here by clicking on it to see a detailed view of the image. And again, similar to the documents, if I have the rights to print, I will have a print icon available for me here to print that image out. Back will take me back to my image listing. If I wanted to search for a different image, I could certainly do that from here as well. Financials will show me the patient's financial history. The way we do that in CareFinity is we give you a listing across all time at the top. You'll see total charges, total payments, total adjustments, and then anything that's outstanding for this patient. What's outstanding to payer 1, payer 2, payer 3, what's outstanding to the patient, and what's sitting in bad debt. So based on the data that we get from the legacy environment, if they're able to give us this balance history broken out by responsible payer, we will display it that way in CareFinity. There are some systems that only give us a third-party balance, in which case that would all show under the primary payer bucket here in CareFinity. Underneath the summary, you'll have all of the different encounters or visits for that patient, and you'll see the same information at a visit level. You'll see the visit number, the visit date, the rendering on that visit, and then that same summary information for that visit. I'm going to go to page 2 of my data set here where I have some more information available. And I'll see here a visit that has some charges associated with it. And I'm going to drill into that visit. When I do that, I'm going to see some additional details. The first thing I'm going to see are the payers that are associated with that visit. So I'll see the primary, the secondary, the tertiary payer on that visit. If the legacy environment has insurance cards that are available, you could view those insurance cards from within CareFinity as well. The encounter details will show me all of the different charges for that visit. You'll see the date of service of the charge, the procedure code, the charge amount, any payments that have been done, any adjustments that have been done, the current balance, and where that balance currently resides. Is it with the payer or is it with the patient? I can drill into charges to get more details of transactions that have occurred for those charges. Here I'll see all of the different payments and adjustments that have occurred. You'll see the date of the transaction, the type, is it an adjustment, is it a payment, the transaction code that was used for that transaction, any tracking information. So if I'm capturing a check number or a credit card authorization, you'll be able to see that here. And then the payment and adjustment amounts are available to you here. Cancel will take me back to my charge listing. If I wanted to look at a different charge, I could do that from here. CareFinity also gives you the ability to view billing notes that have been created in your practice management system. So those can come over if they're available in the legacy data set, and you'll be able to see those billing notes within this section here. Back will take me back to my financial information. If I wanted to look at a different encounter, I could certainly do that from here. CareFinity is not built to run down AR from your legacy environment, but what you can do in CareFinity is to post what we call archive transactions. So once you've moved into the archive, you may still get transactions from different parties. An insurance payer may pay, a patient may pay, a collection agency may pay, and so you need to be able to track those transactions within CareFinity. And we use the concept of archive transactions for that. If I click on the archive transaction tab, it's going to show me any archive transactions that this patient has had in the past. So your team has visibility to any transactions that have been posted in here. I can create a transaction by clicking on the post transaction button. It gives me the ability to enter the data. The first thing I have to do is tell CareFinity, is this an adjustment or is this a payment? I can select a payment, for example. I can put in a date for that transaction. I can put in an amount for that transaction. I could put in a source. Is it coming from a primary, secondary, tertiary payer? Is it coming from the patient? Is it coming from a collection agency? I can put in an encounter number as well as any notes from within here to be able to put information in that is available to the rest of my team. Cancel will take me out of this, or save will save that transaction in here. If I were to save that transaction, two things would occur. One is that transaction is available in this grid for me to be able to view historically. So your team has visibility into all of the transactions that have been posted into CareFinity. Additionally, we decrement balances accordingly. So if I've posted a transaction as a primary payer transaction, it's going to decrement the balance in the COV1 column, both at the summary level as well as at the particular encounter level. So if I've put in an encounter number in that transaction, it's going to decrement the balance for that encounter. So when I look at the screen, I get an up-to-the-date balance information for that patient. What is the balance based on what transferred over from the legacy system, plus any of the transactions that have been posted into CareFinity. The final section here, export clinical data, is how you deal with the records release request from within CareFinity. The way we do that in CareFinity is we give you a listing of all the documents and images this patient has had. That's the primary component of the records release request. You can make a decision as a user of what you want to include in that records release request. You can select everything by clicking on the checkbox here. You could select everything and unselect certain things if you don't want to include them in the export. You can select only certain items in the export if you want to build a specific export based on the request that's come in. You could filter by a date range. So if I get a records release request for records from 2015 to 2018, for example, I could filter by a date range and CareFinity will automatically select those records for me. Additionally, once I've selected my documents and images, I can choose to include discrete data in that export. So if I want to include a med list, for example, or lab results, I can select those from within here as well to include in that export. Once I've made my selections, I click on the export button and CareFinity will build that export for me. And it will add it to the grid down below where you'll see a history of everything that's been exported for this patient. You'll see the date and time the export was done. You can click on the hyperlink here to get details of what was exported. If it's the number of documents and images, any discrete data that was included in the export will be available for you here. You'll see the type of export, the user that did it, and the status of that export, whether it was completed or whether there were any errors or it's still being worked on. As exports are being worked on, you can use CareFinity, do other things in the system, and it will update the status when that is complete. When I'm doing an export, I can capture a comment as to why I'm doing the export, and you have the ability to come in and view those comments. So what was the reason for this records release? I can type that in here and capture that information in CareFinity. And then finally, you can view any of the exports that you've done. So if I wanted to go back and look at what was exported from my environment a year ago, I can come in and view that information from within CareFinity. Everything that users are doing in CareFinity is audited. Just like the export where I can come in and view the historic information, you have the ability to view audit logs from within CareFinity. That's done through an audit report. So if I go into the reports section, I'll have a security report category by default that will show me my audit report. So this audit report will give you a history of everything that's occurred for this for users in your environment. It will show you everything, all the patients that have been open, all the data elements that have been viewed for that particular user, so you can get that information. CareFinity also supports an API for audit logs. So if you have a SIM system and you want to be able to pull this audit log information into your SIM environment, there is an API that's made available for that purpose. That is the front end of CareFinity. It is designed to be simplistic in use. We know users aren't in an archive environment all the time. We want them to be able to go in and find the information that they're after. So we've leveraged the same web tools that users are used to using from their banking and their shopping and their airline usage to be able to pull up information and be able to get to the data that they're after. By embedding CareFinity downtime in your production EHR environment using the single sign-on mechanism, you can make the data really easy for your users to be able to get to right at their fingertips. Once they open that patient in their production environment, they can launch CareFinity. It opens right to that patient in CareFinity, and they're able to view the historic data that they go in and view. By doing that, you can use CareFinity as part of your conversion strategy as well, in terms of what data do I want to import into my production EHR. By having CareFinity embedded right in my production EHR and the ability to go pull and view that information directly from within there, it may change your conversion requirements as well and may make that process a little bit more seamless. That's the CareFinity archive application. Shauna, I'm going to pass it back to you.
Thank you, Vic. Wonderful demo as usual. Well, team, as we begin to wrap up today, I'd like to review a few takeaways with you regarding CareFinity Archive. It's simple, intuitive access to legacy records. We want your end users to be able to log into CareFinity and find exactly what they need, and it to be an easy process. No training manuals, nothing they have to really remember, just intuitive. Lower your total cost of ownership. Be able to reduce potentially hardware cost and legacy software vendor cost and have a lower cost of ownership, but still retain that access to your data. Flexible hosting options. You can host it. MTS can host it. We can put it in the cloud. You can host it on physical servers. We are flexible when it comes to hosting. Stay compliant and responsive to records requests. Even though you don't have an EHR application up and running anymore, but we can still answer those requests, serve your patients, and meet legal requirements. And then finally, operational integration with your new EHR. As Vic mentioned, if your source EHR will allow for it, we'd love to put a link in there, create access to those patient records very easy and seamlessly for your end users. I hope this discussion has been beneficial for your needs and helped illustrate how CareFinity Archive might benefit your organization. If we can provide any additional information or if you would like to schedule a live demonstration for your organization, please do not hesitate to reach out. We would love to hear from you. Thank you for your time today.